Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to Nurturing Conversation Podcast. I'm your host, I Shell, also known as Shell. I want to take this moment to say thank you to the channel members. I hope that you are enjoying your channel member benefits. I want to say thank you to Journey with Kiki, Kimberly Davis, Happy 1178, and Lovely Samir. I again hope that you are enjoying your channel benefits. Stay tuned for the channel live disclaimer.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. If this is your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning supporter, I'm here to give you the disclaimers for this here live. Listen, I do not tolerate disrespect. That's in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it's towards me, towards anyone that appears on the screen, towards anyone that appears in the chat. If you have not decided to be a better person, most people will tell you to leave, but I'm going to tell you to stick around because maybe something that is said today will encourage you to do so. Now, I am not a mental health professional. I am just one woman willing to share my personal experiences to let you know two things. One, you are not alone, regardless of how much you feel like you are alone, how many times you have felt that, you are not alone. And number two, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. There will be curse words, there will possibly be tears, but knowing me, it probably will be. And my opinions are my opinions. Your opinions are your opinions. We are here to have a nurturing conversations in regards to our opinions so that we will have a better understanding of each other. That's all I got for right now. I hope that you enjoy this nurturing conversation. Let's get to it. Wait. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button that helps me say suggested on YouTube. Make sure that you type in the chat, also leave a comment, and share it with your friends. That's all I got. Let's get into this conversation. I love you. Peace.
I gotta remember to take it off of the mute. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. If this is your first time here, welcome back. If you are a returning supporter, again, my name is I Shell, also known as Shell from Shell's Closet. And this is the Nurturing Conversations podcast. Tonight's topic is generational trauma. And in this episode, we will talk about generational traumas and how they affect our current lives, previous lives, past lives, how to identify the traumas, and how to practice healing and moving forward. Hopefully, you leave this conversation with a deeper understanding and have the resilience. Have the resilience to go on that journey of healing and self discovery. Um, we'll get right into it. Sorry, y'all. I do have my nephew, so I want to give that disclaimer. He is here, so there's that. Um, what is inter? Hold on. Already, give it here. Thank you. Already, sorry, y'all. I didn't even get good in the conversation till it started. Can you can you not touch it, please? Thank you. Can you not touch it, please? Thank you. Leave it, please. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Um, what is generational trauma? Generational trauma is traumas that has been experienced and passed down through the family's bloodline or through the family's lineage. Um, oh, he's crying. Um, sorry, y'all. It's a space in my heart. I gotta try to focus, focus. Um, some of the causes of generational trauma are things such as slavery, war, natural disasters, um, alcoholism. Oh, I'm trying to find another word for this. Um, Sexual misconduct. There we go. Sexual misconduct. Um, Sexual misconduct. I'm sorry. Trying to, I guess that's the word we're gonna have to use because I don't want to like get my channel flagged or anything like that. So we're going to go with sexual misconduct, and I'm gonna find another word for this, or DV. That's what I'll just call it, DV. If you know what DV is, it's um, I'll put some subtitles in. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. Oftentimes, um, there's conversation around like generational curses, and um, I personally, in my opinion, I don't know if I said this disclaimer, but if I did it, I'm going to say it again. My opinion is my opinion. Your opinion is your opinion. We are here to have a nurturing conversation in regards to our opinions. I personally feel like generational traumas do exist. Generational traumas show up in more ways than one. Um, Sometimes people are not aware of um, the things that they experience is trauma, and I feel like that's because we've been in things for so long that it has just become normalized. You know, people be like, why don't we normalize? It has become a part of our normal everyday routine. Some of those things is even the way that we discipline children, or even the way that we discipline people. Um, I remember growing up, I only had one whooping ever in my entire life. I'm 42 years old. I had one whooping, and I remember it because my mother had never whooped me before. Like, I remember it. Like, to this very day, I remember why, I remember everything. And it was really traumatic for me because my mother had never like she disciplined, like take away phones and stuff like that, but she had never physically um whooped me before. And so it was such a traumatic event for me that I vowed to never, never, I to never whoop kids. I find it important to speak to them and let them know, like, okay, this is what you did. This is why you are not, you're not going to play outside. You're not going to, cause an effect. Those are the things that I deal with, and I make sure that they understand um, how things affect people. I make sure that when I talk to people, I talk to them how I would want them to talk to me. Now, we all know that that doesn't work often, but I want to talk to people the way that I want to be talked to. I think about a story my uncle told me some years ago. And if you have a older auntie, uncle, cousin, or anyone that grew up in the South and they migrated north, um, my grandmother um, comes from a family of landowners who had cotton on their land. And so my mother picked cotton. um, but my uncle told me the story of how when slaves would have to not be attached to their children, because I always wondered the dynamic between my mother and my grandmother. And he told me the story about how slaves would not get too attached to their kids because their kids can be sold at any time. And in my mind, I thought like, holy cow, that is really some traumatic stuff. Like you birth a child, or you have kids, and people who have nothing to do with your family could like literally take your kids and sell them to someone else, or mistreat them in any kind of way. And so as he was telling me this, I began to understand what he was saying. Like he was saying, okay, they could sell that, but I began to understand why the relationship between my mother and my grandmother existed the way it did, because generations generations before her, no one was like, it's okay to love your child, to love on your child, to hug your child. Like we're not in the slavery times anymore. Like I get it. that's always going to be a part of our history, but we're not there anymore. Like it's okay for you to hug and be affectionate with your child, or show your child attention, or any of those things. And so as I began to think about my relationship with my mother, it was just like, holy cow, that's really what it is. It's like I don't, at first, like growing up, I did not have that um affectionate, like nurturing relationship with my mother. Ironically enough, I did have it with my grandmother. But I know they say, like, once you have a child, like it's a the dynamic shifts, and then like the parents can see, or the grandparents can see the mistakes that they made with the child. But I began to like understand it, and so then i I took the first step to say, this won't exist. Like this is not going to exist for the generations behind me. Like the buck stops here, pretty much. Um, Anything that I experience in my life, I have made it my business to ensure that the people behind me don't experience it, or if they do experience it, they know that they have a safe place to come, to express, to talk, to share, and someone that will listen without judgment. Because a lot of times in our life, traumas and things exist or continue to exist because no one acknowledges them. No one acknowledges the fact that someone lost a loved one, lost their parents, or lost a sibling, and no one acknowledges that fact. And so people walk around holding on to hurt and bitterness and anger, and it starts to fester and grow in them. And then instead of like talking about it, people are um, reactive. People, instead of talking, they use their hands, or they use other um, violent means of expressing themselves. And I wanted to talk about this today because I realized that we're living in a time where people don't talk. People don't talk. They allow their hands and violent things or violent ways to speak for them, when it's like, if we just allow people a safe space to talk, and not talk so we can hear what they're saying so we can go run and tell somebody else, but to allow them to be vulnerable, to talk, to share with them how losing a parent, or how having a parent go to jail, how that makes them feel. I was I, I kind of have a thing when I'm watching, like everybody's like, oh, you should watch Snowfall, and I'm like, I kind of have this thing growing up in the 80s and seeing how, like, I didn't experience it firsthand, but seeing how my friends and people in my community were affected by um, drugs. I have this thing where it comes where when it comes to like TV shows around things like that, because I like firsthand saw, how it affected people's families. And so for me, I feel like if we took the time to, one, acknowledge family secrets, or share family secrets, acknowledge family secrets, um, and understand the traumas that are in our families, I really feel like more families will be involved with each other, and not on a sense of, oh, that's my mother, my grandmother, my cousin, or whatever, so I have to, but the true essence of family will still exist. Like, I remember being able to go to my grandmother's house on pretty much any day, and she was cooking, and we were sitting at the table talking and asking what's going on and how are we feeling or what are we thinking. And then I think, like, now, presently in this time, who's asking people, how are you feeling and what are you thinking? I think about um, when I was growing up and I was getting ready to date, and my uncles and my grandmother, and they were always be like, make sure you check the family tree, right? Make sure you check the family tree. And at first, it didn't dawn on me what that meant. Like, I'm not dating a family. I'm just dating the person. But then when I got to a point where I understood what that meant, it meant understand where the family in which they come from. Some people have families where there is a strong presence of mental illness, and there is nothing wrong if you have mental illness, but some people come from families where there is a strong presence of mental illness, and some families don't acknowledge that their family members have mental illness, and instead they try to pray it away or um, make excuses for why it happened instead of getting people the help that they need in order for them to be okay. Um, Let me say this right here. I am not against any religion. I just feel like there needs to be a balance of prayer and professional help so that people can live well-rounded lives. I want to make sure that I put that in there so people don't feel like I'm against religion. I'm not against religion. I do believe that there needs to be a balance though. Um, when I think about generational traumas, I think about um, like I said, like my grandmother and my mother's relationship, my relationship with my mother. Of course, I don't have any kids, but I would have done the best if I did have kids to make sure that the relationship between my mother and my child was totally different. Like she didn't have to worry about us being sold. Like she wouldn't have to worry about any of those things. Like um, a person experiencing sexual misconduct in their family, right? We all either we are a product of it or we know someone who has been a product of it, and sometimes um, a lot of us, and I'm including myself because if you've been watching the channel, I am a product of, or I have been sexually abused. I like that. Sexual abuse. I like that term. It feels okay with me. Sexual misconduct made it weird, but sexually abused. Um, and so one of the things that I realized was that um, I'm not the first person in my family to be sexually abused. And um, I feel like many times people don't know how to deal with situations or they don't know how to talk about certain situations. And so a lot of things are overlooked or a lot of things are, I don't want to say swept under the rug, but a lot of things have just like let the chips fall where they may. And in my case, I told adults that I thought would do something about it, and instead they made me feel so bad about the situation. They um, they made me feel so bad as if it was my fault, and it took me going to therapy to realize that it wasn't my fault. Like that wasn't something I invited, and that wasn't something that I was happy about. Like that wasn't it had anything nothing to do with me, and it was the other person who took it upon themselves. And so going to therapy and understanding that, it was just like, okay, so this happened to me, but I wonder what happened to them. Like what happened to that person to get them to the place where they are. Like if you ever watch um, when I do documentaries of like serial killers or things like that, they always go back to their childhood and how traumatic it was, or they lacked love and intimacy from their parents, or they were bullied, or they just didn't have the love and affection that we oftentimes just think everybody has. Like we think, okay, you're a mother, so you have this motherly instinct, you're going to care and nurture for your child. When in reality, a lot of people have issues. A lot of people have issues that they hide very well. They hide very well. Like I'm talking right now, and you're probably like, well, I haven't had any sexual abuse, but maybe you were abused as a child. Maybe you had a traumatic religious experience. Maybe you have traumatic racial, like you experience racism. Like there's so many different um, levels of trauma. There's so many different examples that I could just use. But like I was sharing with someone, like, no, I wasn't a product of, like, I wasn't in the gang or anything like that, but I lived in a neighborhood where we often heard gunshots and fire trucks, and it was like you knew like anytime you heard gunshots, you automatically, like, it wasn't like somebody had to tell you, but you automatically lay down on the floor because you just knew. It wasn't like, oh, if you hear a gunshot, like, I think it was like an unspoken thing, like you just knew. Pow pow, floor. That's all. That's it. And it's the craziest thing, like, even if like even to this day, I still realize like if I hear it, I'm definitely going to get low. I don't know why, like we feel like getting low is going to like, but I think that's just because that's how we saw. That's what we saw. That's what we knew is to get low. And so when I start even like um, thinking about how our grandparents dealt with things, right? Like think about this, right? Think about if your grandparent was um, during the Jim Crow laws, where they couldn't um, drink from water fountains, or they couldn't even, some of them couldn't even go to school. Like think about them during that age, right? Who was going to be around to tell them, like show them how they're bigger than those circumstances? Who was going to tell them, like, hey, um, or ask them, or even acknowledge the fact that they went through traumatic experiences? Who was going to do that? Who's going to make sure that they be okay? Like who's going to say, hey, we should go to therapy? And I say therapy, but I mean like we should seek professional help, um, just to talk about what happened with us. Because a lot of times, if we being honest, the only time families talk is when they say what happens here stays here. They're not talking to you of like, okay, how did what happened at grandma's house make you feel? They're not talking to you about that, because then I say most times when we as adults go to talk to our parents, it's not really receptive. It's not receptive as I'm sharing with my emotions, or I'm expressing my emotions to you, and I want to just understand. It's not receptive like that. I don't know, because I'll just say in my case, on my father's, when I talked to my father, it was different. It was very receptive, and I felt like it was because he had guilt that he was receptive, and he just wanted to, whatever I said to him or spoke to him about, he just wanted to hear it. But on my mother, I understood where she come from. Hello, Trini. I understood where she come from, so I made it my business to make sure that I said it, that I come in peace, not like, you know, but I come because I want to understand. I want to understand. Um, when you thought about parenting, what were your thoughts? Like, what did you foresee? Like, did you see, okay, I was gonna have these three kids, I was gonna send them to the best schools, I was gonna make sure that they was in Saturday schools? Like, what were your thoughts? Like, if you're a parent right now, like, what are your, like, no, parenting doesn't come with the rule book. That we've all heard that. Like, kids say, I never asked to be here, and parents say, well, parenting didn't come with a rule book. So what are your thoughts? Like, what are your hopes, dreams, or aspirations, when you have children? Like, what are your thoughts for them? Like, what are your plans for them? And not saying like, okay, I'm going to plan out they're going to play basketball or football, but like, what are your plans? Like if you're a mother, you have a baby, and you like, I just want to have a healthy baby. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. I don't care the hair. I don't care the eye color. I just want to have a healthy baby, right? And you do everything that you need to do to ensure that that baby is healthy, and you are able to, bring forth a healthy baby. What are your plans? Like, if you were a child and you didn't feel protected as a child, and now you're an adult and you have kids, what are your plans to ensure that your children do not have to endure those same hardships? I know a lot of people say, my kids will never have to experience what I experienced. And then some of those same people are the same people who afflict those same experiences on their child. Your mother or father never hugged you, so you don't hug or even congratulate your child. You don't go to events. Like, I thought about um, going to school. I went to predominantly white schools. So when I go to school, it's like they have their whole, like, when I say whole families be coming, like whole families, grandma, grandpa be sitting up in the stands, whole families be there. And then I would think like, um, I would do things and like, my grandma would definitely, she's a ride or die, she would definitely come, but like nobody else would really come. And I would thought like, what if, how would I be if other people would have came to like my events, right? So then I thought when I got ready to graduate college, I had to do a senior recital, and nobody had usually come to my events or anything, so I kind of got used to it, and I promoted it. It made the news, it made the television, and um, hello, Journey with Kiki. Um, and then my family showed up. I didn't care that they hadn't come to anything ever else in my life. Like that was the most important thing, and they showed up. Sorry, y'all. I gave y'all a disclaimer. I would be crying, but I didn't realize then how much it meant to me. It meant so much to me to have the people I love to actually see me in my element, to actually be there to support me through one of the most difficultest times of my life. And they were there for me. And not only were they there for me, they sung with me, they helped me elevate what I already had to a whole nother level. And from that moment forth, I tell you, it changed the dynamic on how I see people. It changed the dynamic on how I look at things. Like in my mind, I say, if no one ever talked to our parents or their parents or their parents, if no one ever talked to the generations about healing, if no one ever talked to the generations about letting go or forgiving or acknowledging and accepting, if no one ever talked to those people about that, how do we expect them to be the greatest people that they can? Because they don't know that they could be greater. If you ever talk to a parent about how you feel or what you think, the first thing that they're going to say is, I did the best that I could. And that might anger you. It might cause you to feel a little something on the inside of you. But the reality of it is they did the best that they could. I used to say, if you have more than one child, by the third child, you should be a little expert. Parenting don't come with a rule book, but the first child, I get it. Every child is different. But the first child, like what kind of bottles, what kind of milk, what kind of food, you kind of got a foundational experience of what parenting is like, right? So by the third child, it's like you should just be a pro. Because if you don't know, the kids, us kids, we notice the differences. We definitely notice it. I can definitely notice the difference between me at 42, about to be 43, and my younger brother who's in his 20s. Complete difference. We definitely know the difference. And I noticed such a difference where um, if you are an older sibling, you probably have this experience too, where your younger siblings come to you as the go to. Like anything they need to know, they're going to come to you and ask you. And you looking like, I'm not your mama, that's your mama over there. But that's because there's a sense of trust. They've built a sense of trust, of love. In the case with me, I have all brothers. I have three wonderful, amazing brothers. Um, and they come to me about everything. I remember when I first left where I live and I moved to a whole nother state, and I came back for a visit, and my brothers were talking to me, and they like, we felt like you abandoned me, and I was just like, abandon? How can I abandon y'all? I'm hello, I'm not your mother. But when I took a second and like took that away from it, and I was like, I was there to make sure that they were like food, clothes, shelter, like they had everything. And so when I just left, like I just needed to get away. I was thinking about me and focusing on me, and they felt abandoned because I wasn't there to when they had issues, or I wasn't there to make sure. Like I was just focused on me, and a part of me was like, I felt so bad. Like I didn't, that was not my intentions. And I told them, I expressed to them what was going on with me in my life. and they got it. They got it. They understood it. And like our relationship, of course, is way better now. We always had a good relationship. It was just when they said that, it was like, how can I abandon you? I'm not your mother. But then when I thought about it, I was doing the motherly things that would make them feel like, and it was like, holy cow. I didn't mean to affect your life in that manner. That's not what I meant to do. And then I just thought about it like, how many times have parents apologized? I'm not a parent, but to them, I felt like their parent. But I apologize because that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to leave them high and dry. I just knew that I had to do what was best for me at that time. And at that time, it was getting away from here. And then talking to them and understanding the things that they experience, um, I realized that I made a safe space for them. And I made a safe space for them because if you have brothers or uncles or cousins or sons, you know how hard it is for men to express themselves or be vulnerable. And that's something I will forever be grateful for with my brothers, that they have that with me. And this is why I say, if you are a parent and you have experienced any kind of trauma, whether it be, physical, mental, emotional, sociological, or however you say that word, if you have experienced any time of that, it is your job. It is your job as a parent to heal yourself from that, to heal, to renew, to refresh, to forgive, to let go. It is your job as a parent. Because when we talk about generational traumas, the traumas you experience in your life, you indirectly pass them on to your kids. Sometimes it's directly. If you be in a relationship and you know that the person you're in a relationship with isn't good for you or your kids, but you stay there, whether it's the sex, whether it's the money, whether it's the house, and you stay there because you feel like maybe one day it'll change, they'll be better. I'm going to say this, and this is just my opinion. People will change when they want to change. We can give people, we can lay out the red carpet and give them everything they could possibly need, and all they have to do is be a good human being. They still won't do it. If that's not what they want to do, they won't do it. So, in this instance, I'm going to say, if you are a mother and you're in a relationship that you know is not good for your kids, you know it's not good for you. So, if it's not good for you, you know it's not good for your kids. I want to encourage you to get out of that situation. Because whether you believe it or not, your kids are watching you. And if you allow anybody to disrespect you or treat you in a manner that isn't love or kindness, you are indirectly showing your kids that that is okay. Hello, Garrett. And you're probably like, no, I'm not showing them that's okay. No, it's a, I'm just leave. Just leave. Because your kids need the whole you. A lot of times, like I used to say back in the days where most people, had parents who were on drugs, or most people had parents who were really abusive or whatever. And I had a parent who just really loved Jesus. Everything, it was work, Jesus, work. School, we would go to school, but we'd be at church from like sun up to sundown. Like we were always there. And where my mother didn't do drugs or anything like that, she's a wonderful human being. Look out, she'll give you the shirt off her back, shoes off her feet. She would do all of that, but Jesus was her number one thing. I remember we couldn't go to prom. We couldn't participate in no school activities because it was like first trip to hell. I remember all of those things. All of those things. So when I think about like religion, I call it religious trauma is what I have. I'm working through it. I definitely working. I'm definitely working through it. I was able to put that term there because before I just would be like, anyways. But even that was traumatic for me, to have to be at church every day, all the time, for long hours. We couldn't go to movies. We couldn't do, it was so many different things that we couldn't do. And it was different for me because I wasn't in church my whole life. It's like we were living the good life. And then one day it was just like, oh no, you can't play sports anymore. You can't go to dances. You can't, there's a lot of you can'ts, but you can go to church and you can praise God and you can't. That was a lot for me. It was very traumatic. And I'm grateful to be in a space right now where I can put that there. I can honestly say I have experienced religious abuse. Whew, whew. That was wow. Um, that was wow. That was wow. I used to tell myself when I was younger, you'd be like, man, one day when you were younger and your mother like tell you to like clean up your room or wash the dishes or take out the trash, or like they would tell you to do your chores and you'd be like, oh, I can't wait till I get out your house. I can't wait till I turn 18 and I'm gonna go get my own house. And we didn't know about bills and rent, and we didn't care. We just wanted to get out of our parents' house, right? And I thought like I never wanted to leave my mother's house. I never wanted to leave, but I knew that I had to leave in order for me to like end the religious trauma. I knew that I had to. High short zone, I knew that I had to. I knew that I had to uh, put myself in an environment where I can excel. Because what I realized, and this might not be true for your religious organization or your religion, but what I realized is that the the religion that I grew up in, there wasn't no like go to college, go be successful. It was like strive to be a missionary, evangelist, deacon, prophetess. It was like you gonna walk the road for Jesus, and you're gonna. It was just that was it. It wasn't anything more. It wasn't um, entrepreneurship. It wasn't anything of that nature. And I knew that I have greatness on the inside of me, and I needed more. So I had to remove myself from that environment. And then I realized that my mother had set me up in the greatest way. My mother has set me up in the greatest way. This is like when you're younger, you don't really see it. Like if you're listening to this or you're watching this right now and you're in like 20s, you still don't see it yet. But when you get to 40, you're gonna be able to look back and be like, I see exactly what was going on there. I I remember I wanted to go to the neighborhood school. And you were like, how does this deal with generational traumas? I'm going to tell you how I realized that my mother set me up, right? I wanted to go to the neighborhood school. I knew everybody in the neighborhood. Everybody else went to the same school. They would hang out. We would see each other all the time. And my mother signed me up for chapter 220. And I would have to get up at 6 o'clock, or actually like 5 something in the morning, to be on the bus stop at 6 to go all the way out to like the white areas to go to school. Tripped me out that this was still happening when this was like 1994. Tripped me out because, we would hear about the integration of schools and all of that. Listen, so I went to schools where I was learning how to fly planes and like change cars and build cabinetry and like home ec. Like I had all of these different things, and then I'll come back to the neighborhood, and then I just noticed the difference of it, right? I noticed that my mother was like, you see these people every day. You need to be in another environment. And by my mother putting me in a different environment, uh, it strengthened my mind, it strengthened my heart, it strengthened everything about me. Um, what I didn't tell my mom was like, it was a huge cultural shock for me. Like you see white people on the TV, you see them. It's like black people, like white people when they see black people, they see us on the news or they hear about gangs and violence and thugs and they're gonna rob and kill and do all of that. So when they see us, that's what they think. That's what they think we gonna do to them. But that's not even the case. So when I think about my mom sending me to the predominantly white schools, at first I hated it because I want to go to the school with the black kids. You know, I want to be in my neighborhood. But now, as a 42-year-old woman, and I look back and I realize that my mom knew the experiences that she had, knew the things that she went through in high school, and she sent me to better. Did I think it was better at the time that she did that? No. But now I am so appreciative and I understand why it happened. Like my I remember my grandmother and my mother having a really heated discussion. And what was that discussion about, you may ask? It was about my name. My grandmother wanted me to be named Persephone, and my mother wanted me to be named I Shall. And I thought about what my life would be like with a name like Persephone. I don't know. But my name has been I Shall. I think about um like when we give people names, terms of endearment, right? We just be giving shortening people names because we like some people be like, I ain't about to call you that. I'm gonna call you what I want to call you. Or some people be like, you know what? Like, Pookie, Ray Ray, um, Lil B. Like there's always some kind of term of endearment, right? So my real name is I Shell, and I'm telling y'all this because you can Google me, I'm everywhere. But my real name is I Shell, and people had shortened my name to call me Shelly. So for like all I can remember, the only time I heard my name being spoken was at school when the teachers were I Shell. Do you? That was the only time my real name had ever been spoken. And I started to think about it when you're little, right? How do you know your name? How do you come to understand your name? Because people are calling you your name, right? Your mother and father, they're not saying, "Hey, Derek, come over here." They're like, "Hey, Lil D," or they're calling you something else, right? I didn't really understand the importance of my name until I turned 18. I knew my name. I knew my name my entire life, but I didn't understand the importance of my name. Um, when I say the importance of my name is like part of the affirmation. I shall be great. I shall be successful. I shall make YouTubes and get monetized. I shall, like, that's my name. Like, kid you not, that's my name. People used to make jokes. I shall not, I shall, all the time. And then I realized, like, people never call me by my name. I don't even call myself, like, I don't be like, hey, I'm I shall. I just start speaking to people. When I turned 18, all of that changed. I want you to call me by my name. Call me I shall. And I literally remember um, waking up one day and was like, either people are going to call me I shall or I'm not going to respond to them. And for a long time, people thought I was being funny because it was like, I've been calling you Shelly all your life. And I was like, and I never liked that. You never asked me, did I want you to call me Shelly? You never even considered me. You just thought like it was cool because that's what everybody was doing. Have you ever stopped to ask somebody like people have friends and their friends call them a nickname and it's like you walk in and be like, hey, insert nickname here, and they look at you like you crazy because you haven't earned that ability to like call them that. Like you don't know. Like I be I be telling people, y'all don't know what I went through to have the name I shall. I went through a lot to have that name, and I'd be damned if I let you call me Shell. That's the name of my just Shell's closet, but my name is I shall. My name is I shall. You see that journey with Kiki? That's what people do. And so even like now when I talk to professional people and they be like, well, how do you spell it? And they always throw an R in there. It's like, no, it's I shall. Like I shall. Like it's spelled AICHELLE, but it's I shall. I shall call you Bob. I shall call you Bill, Samantha. I shall. But when I think about it, right, I didn't know I spent so many years of my life trying to figure out who I was. I knew who I was. I knew that I was, I knew that I am loving. I knew that I am a fighter. I know that I am definitely stubborn. I know that I love human beings, sometimes to my own detriment. I knew that. But I knew that I went through so many things in my life that caused me to like kind of lose sight of that person. So the more I was able to claim bits and pieces of me, I began to become whole, like whole. When I began to acknowledge the different like traumas and things that I experienced in my life, when my uncle was telling me the situation about my mother and then the experiences that they had growing, traveling to Mississippi or even like from my grandmother moving from Mississippi to Wisconsin and like that whole dynamic of what it meant to actually leave the South and come north. Like, I didn't even understand any of that. Like, I went to school and they would talk about it all the time, but it wasn't until I had a conversation with my uncle that the reality of it set in. Like, they went through real life situations. Like, I think about right now, right, we have the liberties to go outside. We can drink from whatever fountain, sit at whatever table, eat at whatever restaurant. We can do all of that stuff when our grandparents were the people that were like not able to drink from a water bubbler, when our grandparents were like, and then we have the audacity to disrespect them when it was like, had it not been for them, you wouldn't have the liberties that you have. I think about the traumas that experience from the slaves experience from um, their slave masters, or the people that like the things that they would do to keep them from running away, the things that they would do to like inflict mental trauma on them, selling their kids, beating their husbands, like taking them into the house and selling them and doing all kinds of things, like the trauma that must have been for them. And then to have that trauma passed down, even like now in 2023, we might not think about it, but it a part of us is still affected by it. Kid you not. If you are a person that grew up in a neighborhood, there is an unspoken thing that you have with the people that wear blue uniforms. Unspoken. We could talk about it if you want, but there is a thing. Like, if you look like me, there is a thing that's generational that has been passed down. We don't. I was on TikTok today, just scrolling on TikTok, and I don't know why, but sundown towns popped up on my TikTok. And I'm the type of person, when I see something that interesting, I dive. I dive deep. My grandmother had a green book, so I had, I'm familiar with the green book and reading it or whatever. And so then I started looking at these sundown towns, and I was like, wait a minute, it's 2023. What the hell are we still talking about? Whoa, ho, 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 ho. Can you imagine growing up in the South? So this is my thing, right? I want to go. My family, um, um, like the birthplace of my grandmother is Oklahoma, Mississippi, and I want to go. I do want to go with all of my heart. I want to go. I just understand that the person that I am and the place that I am in my life, like I envision like going, like driving, getting there, um, seeing the sights, whatever, and then coming back out. But the more I talk, the more I understand, the more I think about the experiences I had going to predominantly white schools, the more I just feel like, no, I would like to go and just be there and just understand. But then I came across sundown towns today, and I was just like, I don't, why? Why are those a thing? Who in 2023 is still on that? Um, I know there's a lot of people still on it, but like it's 20, in my mind, I'm thinking it's 2023. But in 1999, I was in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and they were prevalent there. So when I say like my grandmother, Jim Crow, my mother, and then like I literally like me, like I'm just looking at this camera right now, saw them, the people, the people that the ghost people. They like they love white sheets. Those people saw them face to face, like actual interactions with them. And then I sat and thought to myself like, that's three generations that I know of. I can't even phantom. Like my uncle used to say, because my grandma, my granny's father, which would make that my great grandfather, used to own a bunch of land. He told y'all earlier it got cotton, and so they used to come to him and try to buy his land because what are you? Who are you to own land where? And so he would tell me the stories of how they would have to like, you know, do what they need to do to handle their business to secure their land. And I was just thinking like all of my generations, and even to think like going into the future, like those people didn't disappear. They didn't just like, okay, we woke up one day and we have changed and we don't not like people. We love people because of their skin color that don't match ours. We love those people didn't wake up that like, they still to this present day. But I think about the trauma that they've inflicted on multiple generations, multiple people, multiple like ethnic groups, multiple. I was thinking about like we experienced African Americans experienced slavery, had the Trail of Tears, like where they pushed the Indians to a then they had concentration camps, and I just started thinking like that's a lot of trauma. That's a lot of trauma of a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma. And now we are in a place where they're telling us that the traumas didn't exist, that we don't need to talk about it in our history books. It don't need to be taught at school. And I'm sitting here like again, I went to predominantly white school, so I'm sitting here like, where were y'all in 1999 when we were watching Roots and To Kill a Mockingbird, and like we were watching all these different shows, and then I'm sitting here looking like, oh my god, I never knew some of that stuff happened. And then you have people in here in my class like, I apologize, I didn't, and I'm just looking like, what just happened? Because that's what they were teaching at my school. They were teaching those things. We learned about the transatlantic slave trade, and people were apologizing to me, and I would at first I didn't understand it, but then I understand it. I'm black, and so you feel bad because your grandparents, your mama, your daddy, them people was yeah. Kiki, you remember when 9/11 happened and they were taking those people? Do y'all remember recently they had those kids and those that's trauma. They were separating the kids from their parents, and then they were shipping the kids off to be adopted by. Hey, it's trauma. I know people be like, I ain't experienced no trauma in my life. If you ever been neglected by your parents, you ever been left at your grandma's house, I know you probably be like, that ain't no. If you been left at your grandma's house and your parents is too busy partying, turning up, living their life, doing whatever they doing, that's neglect. We ain't gonna talk about it because we don't want to. We ain't gonna talk about it. If you a person of color, you definitely done experience some racial trauma. I think about um, last year when I had a major surgery. Right now, if you don't know, Henrietta Hicks, right? She's the reason why they have a lot of these miraculous um, healing things because they used her stem cells without her family's permission. So when I went in to have a surgery and they were talking to me about stem cells, the first person popped in my mind was Henrietta. I said, I need to know what y'all gonna do with them, why y'all want them. I need to know, give me everything. I need to sit down with the person. So they scheduled me to sit down and talk to the person. I was just like, that's so crazy because y'all just took her. Y'all didn't care. Do y'all know that? Maybe you don't know, but they used to experiment on African American women, like experiment, like take us apart and do all of those things. Just that's how they got a lot of the advancements in medicine. And they say like black women are so strong because they used to experiment on us. Not even just black women, black men with, the Tuskegee experiment. Like those are traumatic things. Like, can you imagine having like a parent or someone that grew up during those times, and so they have a straight, like a real serious distrust for anybody when it comes to the medical field. Think about the people during the redlining, and they were trying to buy houses, and it was like, well, why don't have a family house? Because they had the money to do it, but then people would give us the runarounds all the time. I be hearing people my age now was like, man, well, my parents didn't talk to me about credit. How was they supposed to talk to you about credit? They didn't even know about credit. They use your name to get the phone and the light and the gas, and now you get older, and then you have to decide if you just gonna eat that loss or you gonna file a case on your parents. And then some of us turn around and do the same thing to our kids. We just keep on passing it down. Keep on passing it down. I used to say all the time, I feel like generational curses exist because no one had the courage to stand against them. It take a lot of courage for you to look at your Uncle Pete and be like, you, what you did to me, you won't do to anybody else in this family. And you handle it. You go to the proper authorities to handle it. Are you telling me to call? I am telling you, because what people don't think about is, right? People don't think about the traumatic effect that, like, okay, you think, okay, that only happened one time. That's what people be, oh, it only happened one time. That one time can destroy the thought process of the rest of your life. The one time you went to a party and you don't usually drink, but your friend bought you a drink, or the guy across the bar bought you a drink, and you just turning up and you having a good time, and then you go and you think you're leaving with your friends, and you wake up, you're in a whole nother place that you don't even know. That one event changed your whole life. You think you going to a place and it's going to be a safe space, and then you come to find out the people are molesting your children or sexually abusing your children, sorry. What do you do in that instance? I remember I was telling my mother what was going on with me, and I wanted her to be, I wanted her, like, we want people to be like angry, want them to have some kind of response. And I didn't get that from her. And so for me, that kind of left me with a little, ooh, wee, right? But then I realized how would I have a response? I could say, yeah, I would have, did all of that stuff, but the reality of it is how would I've actually. You ever been in a relationship with, like, I wish somebody would do that to me, and you got all these, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then you get in a relationship and somebody do that to you, and you just sitting there like, I know they didn't. I don't even know how I got here. That happened to me. I just knew, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing everything. I'm making sure home is good, everything is good. And then it was like, wait, how did I get here? Not me. No, because I know I was doing. I was forsaking myself to make sure that I was doing. Yeah, that happened. That happened. And in the process of me, I'm on a journey of healing and self discovery. And I say that, but I realize that life is a journey. Like, looking back, I look back now because it's like, oh my God, I could see, like, if you're in your 40s, right? I'm pretty sure you could look back to your 30s, the exact age, like I'm 42. I could look back to when I was 33, 32, about to turn 33, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm telling you, like, they always say hindsight is 2020, but when you get to that point where you're able to look back, like, even if you're a parent, right, and you have kids, and you be like, you used to think that your parents were just mean, and they was just, and then you understand, like, your parents was really looking out for you, or they really had your back, but you couldn't see that they had your back because you was living your life. You was trying to be you. I remember my mother used to be like, "Those aren't your friends," and I was like, "What you mean they're not my friends? We hanging out, we having a good time." And then I started paying attention, like the back of the back of your head, you hear that voice, and it's like, "That's not your friends." And then you start noticing things, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna shy away." And then an incident go down, and you be like, "Whoo, I'm glad I didn't go. I'm glad I moved over here." Yeah, things like that be happening all the time. I started to tell the people around me, like, we weren't taught to trust ourselves. We weren't taught to trust how we feel. We weren't even asked how we felt. Stay in a child's place. I don't want to hear about it. You a child. What you got to stress over? Like, kids don't have stress. They do. Like, I think about in these last 3 years since we've been going through this global fucking pandemic, like how many times have parents just took the time to sit down and talk to their child and be like, "Where are you? How are you feeling? What are you thinking? What's going on with you?" I I find myself here lately, um, if a person like drops in my spirit, and I say my spirit and I'm touching my heart, but like if a person it drops in my heart at that moment, I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing, I'm picking up my phone, and I in the present day, before I would send a text or I just call, but in the present day, I'm sending them a video, and I'm like, "Hi, how you doing? I just want to check in on you, just make sure that you're good. I want you to know that I love you," because I feel like that happens for a reason. We don't know why. Like, you ever been somewhere and be like, "I need to call so and so," and then you have that, "Oh, I'll call them later on," and then you find like something happened to them, and then it'd be like, "Damn, I should have called so and so." We weren't taught to trust ourselves. We weren't taught to like believe that we can do things. Like, I remember when I was growing up, they was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, it was doctors, lawyers, all of that, and I was like, "I want to be a pediatrician. I want to work with babies. I want to work with kids, like teenagers. I want to like be a part of that process." And then when I got sick when I was 18, I was like, I could never. You got to be a strong type of person to do that job. Like, you got to be a strong type of person. You a mother come in and the baby crying, and then you find out the baby got leukemia or something. Like, you got to be a strong person and look at them people and say, "You, I know you wanted this baby your entire life. Like, this is your pride and joy. Your baby has leukemia." I just could not. I watched the doctor tell my mother that I will never walk or talk again. And the sheer look in her face just let me know I could have never done that job. I like to believe that I could. I do. Like, I still, like, yeah, I could believe. Mm-mm. I couldn't do that. I couldn't tell your child has, no, I couldn't do that. I was like, come to think about it, I would probably be in my office crying, like, "Okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this." But then, they got all those different laws, but I wouldn't be able to do it. And I had to take that reality. And then now it's like, when I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I was like, nah. Then you go to debate teams and you do all that stuff. It's like, hmm. And now I'm like, oh, I knew when I was younger what I was gonna be. I was gonna be a lawyer. I'm really good at talking, and I'm really good at researching. I'm really good at all those things. And so I'm future endeavor. Excuse me, future endeavor. Entertainment law. It's my future endeavor. You like, girl, you 42 years old. Hey, there is no time like the present. There's no time. I remember I used to be so excited, like when I would see older people going back to school or older people in class with me. Oh, do you know they got the best knowledge? I remember when I used to, like, we have history. When I had history projects, it was always the white people trying to learn more about black people. Hey, that's my truth. So I was fortunate enough to have all of my grandmother's sisters who were all in Mississippi and all migrated to Wisconsin at different times. So I was able to go and talk to them and understand what Mississippi was like, understand the migration, understand all of that. Why? And so for me, those things excited me. And then I realized I like talking to older people because they have all of the history. Like, They have everything. They have family history. Like I don't know if y'all like family have like a big there's like a big Bible and it's like got all the who's who in the Bible. We like that got passed down. It was China got passed down. Like there was family heirlooms. Do y'all remember that? I used to be so excited. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. My grandmother had this ring and I couldn't wait for it was my turn to get this ring. I couldn't wait. Do y'all know I got that ring and lost it? I was so heartbroken because I could not wait. I couldn't wait. I remember the excitement for the day when it came. And I got one picture with it on. One. And it was gone. I think about all of the like things my grandmother would talk to me about, and she always like my grandmother loved humans. And you probably like, why you gotta say human? Why you just don't say people? Because my grandmother loved humans. She always say if what people say can't buy you food, can't put a roof over your head, um, and it don't pay your bills, don't it? It doesn't matter. It stuck with me. When she said it's not what you do, it's not what people do unto you, it's what you do unto them that matters. And then of course we went to church and it was how do unto others. But it was like my grandmother taught me those things. My grandmother taught me how to treat people before I even went anywhere. That's why I be saying to like parent, if you're a parent, everything that a child is supposed to learn, you are their first teacher. You ever hear people like, "Oh, that's she just fast. She just out there looking." They're not fast. We're not. Young girls aren't fast. We just be throwing those terms around because that's what people use before us. The older generations be calling me. The reality of it is like parents need to spend more time with their children in this decade. Right now, right? You got a global fucking pandemic. You got human trafficking, sex trafficking. You got all these different things. You got people on the internet preying on young people. Do y'all be watching the show where they be doing this thing and they bring pizza and drinks and all kinds of stuff. They ready to turn up with these little bitty kids, and then the man come around the thing and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just a delivery person. They done caught pastors, bishops, your local senators. They done caught all these different people in these different things. I get parents they gotta survive, they gotta work, you gotta work to survive, you gotta make sure that you can take care. But at the same time, I feel like if you grew up in a household where there wasn't hugs, there wasn't I love you, there wasn't support, there wasn't any of those things, it's up to you to change that for your child. It's up to you to acknowledge the traumas that you experienced as a child. And again, it might not be sexual abuse. It might not be child abuse. Maybe it was neglect. Maybe it was racial trauma. Maybe it was religious trauma. Maybe it was whatever. But it's up to you to ensure that the next generation doesn't have to experience those things. Now, granted, we live in on the planet Earth and we live here, so things we're going to experience, but even if we do experience it, we know that we have a space to come to. I remember I was saying to someone what happened to me, and it was like, what happened to me too, and look how I turned out. Like I was just supposed to be okay with what happened to me. No, I'm never gonna fucking be okay. And I'll be telling people like I went to therapy, I went to I went to regular therapy, I went to an advanced therapy, and I went to EDMR therapy. EDMR therapy worked for me. Those other two therapies, it was cool, I guess. It was cool. It was cool because it helped me get to where it helped me get to EDMR. So those things worked for me. That and like my spiritual practices, religious beliefs. I don't have religious beliefs. My spiritual practices combined with therapy, balance. That's why I said at the beginning, like, I'm not discounting Jesus or religion or anything like that, but what I'm saying is professional help works also. Because, there's be time period in between when you offer up your prayer to Jesus and then when it really happens. I'm not saying that Jesus is slow. What I'm saying is there's time periods, and that's when he said God helps those who help themselves. If you know that your arm is broken and you like, Jesus, heal my arm, Something on the inside of you is going to be go to that emergency room over there because they can put your arm back together. You know, like Jesus is telling you to go to the emergency room. They're going to put your arm back together. You're not just going to sit there and be like, well, I'm just waiting on Jesus. You're not going to, we not, like, come on. We're not going to do that. We're going to get up and we're going to go over there to that emergency room and tell them put our arm. Do what you need to do to get our arm together. That's where I would wish more families would like do what needs to happen to ensure that their families are together. But we're stuck with denial. Some people will be like, no, like it's whispers in the family. You know, Uncle Pete. Yeah, Uncle Pete. Yeah, he done girl, he done touched. Those whispers. Just whispers and something. And these days, they don't even whisper no more. It's like loud and everybody be cool. And then it's like, we having a family barbecue over here. And you know Uncle Pete going to be there slathering the ribs because they going to say, you know, he the best barbecue. He the best barbecuer in the whole family. So he over there slamming the ribs. And then they want you to come. Oh, that happened. Girl, that happened so long ago. Like, stop dismissing. Let's stop dismissing people. Yeah, that might have happened to you and you turned out to be the greatest person ever. That was really sarcastic the way I said that. But it might happen to somebody else and they're not as strong as you. Maybe they don't have the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm going to push through this. Maybe they don't have that. We need to stop dismissing and stop minimizing people's experiences. Somebody said to me, oh, everybody got a story. Right. I'm choosing to tell my story. You're just going to hold on to your story until it actually kills you. You're going to go over here, you're going to struggle through relationships because you haven't figured out that the greatest love that you want in your life is you. You want to love yourself. So because you haven't figured that out, you're going to be in relationship after relationship after relationship. And then it's going to be, oh, it didn't work because of this. Oh, it didn't work because of this. It didn't work because of this. Because at some time, you're going to have to sit back and look at yourself in the mirror and be like, these things aren't working because of me. These things aren't working because of me. Like when I came to the reality, like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my life because of me. It's not because I don't have money. It's not because nobody didn't give me an opportunity. You see what I'm talking on right now? I'm talking on this is a whole platform. Everybody have access to this platform. Only reason why I'm not where I want to be is because I haven't put in the work to get there. That's the only reason. Oh, I don't got no money. I know people, when I tell y'all this, right? I go to business accelerators, I go to pitch events, I go to all these different things, right? And I'm over here, got a whole business plan, proposal. I got one sheets, executive summaries. I got everything pitch decks. I got everything you could possibly need, right? So how do you think I feel? I go into these different events and there's people up in there don't even have none of that. They just have an idea and they good at bullshitting. They're good at telling these people like, yeah, I'm gonna make the next flightless car, a car that without wheels, and it's just gonna hover, and the people be believing it, tossing them money. So when I be telling people you don't need money to start a business, you gotta have an idea and be able to sell that idea. When I thought about doing a YouTube, I don't have to restructure YouTube. I've been on YouTube since 90s. The 90s. I've been on YouTube, right? I laughed the other day because I was like, right when I stopped doing YouTube, that's when everybody was, it's like, you a millionaire, you a millionaire, everybody started being millionaires. And then for me, I came back and it was like, well, I don't do YouTube. I sat down with a business advisor, and they were saying to me, they was like, why don't you tell people that you're a live streamer or you're a YouTuber? And I was like, because I like to keep this over here. Like, they don't need to know. I mean, they already consume so much of my time over here. This is for me. And it was like, you should blend those together because you have you have platforms on I'm literally on every platform, right? And so I was just like, but I don't want to do that. And then I started thinking about where I want to go in life, where I future endeavor. I have to. It's only right that I do it. It's only right that I introduce everybody to what who I am and what I do, because this is where I spend a lot of my time. I said earlier when I was posting, I was like, I spend so much of my time live streaming that I literally stopped doing videos. It wasn't because I don't have content, because I got tons of content, because I be live every day. Every day I be live on other platforms, having a good old time. And then I said to myself, I have to come back to YouTube because I need to make these videos. People have been really like inboxing me, DMing me, like, hey, are you coming back to YouTube? And I was like, I never left YouTube, but I get what they saying. My daily affirmations. So I'm bringing daily affirmations, workouts, puzzles. I got everything for y'all. I was telling someone the other day, I said, I knew 3 years ago when I started doing Sunday Night Dinner and Convo that this podcast would exist. I already had the name for it. I had everything, right? But I was afraid to put the name on it because that meant that I really had to do it. That's something that I realized that comes from down. It's like once we commit to something, oh, we gonna do it. We definitely gonna do it. And I didn't feel like I had the capacity to do that at the time. And now I have a whole podcast with like 70 something episodes in a podcast, an actual podcast. When I think about all the things that I'm currently doing right now, I thought about every time my grandmother would take me somewhere and she would instill in me and she would encourage me and she would communicate and ask me how I feel and think about it. I think about my uncles who will always have a conversation with me and tell me, like, hey, like I told my uncle I was going to therapy. He was like, that most of the Fortune 500 CEOs or women that are in these positions, they all go to therapy or they have went to therapy at some point in time. He was like, I admire you for doing that. And I was like, my uncle, I admired my uncle my whole entire life. He talked about he admired me. And me? He would go and be like the board on the board of directors of all these major companies, and I'm sitting over here like, if I think about a business, I can write a business plan, proposal, I can put it all together. So I'm sending it to him. He was like, how did you learn how to do this? I don't know. I literally could literally put a business plan proposal together for any business. You tell me what your vision is, and I can make it. I can make it happen for you. How I know how to do that? I like to read and I like to research, and so I keep my ear. I keep my ear. Actually, I keep my eyes now to this virtual world. I keep my eyes. That the next space I'm about to move into is the metaverse. Yeah, we gonna go to the metaverse. I'm gonna bring y'all along with me. We gonna go to the metaverse. But I just wanted to talk about generational traumas and how we experience, like our grandparents experience. Maybe your grandparents experienced things that they never talked about with their parents, and so they tried to shelter you. And then you were like, "My mothers, they so tough, they so hard, they don't let us do anything." And that's because they were had the freedom to do a lot of things, and they were taken advantage of, or people, was mistreated, and they was trying to keep you from that. And you probably thinking like they was just the rudest, meanest person in the world, but they was actually protecting you, actually protecting you. I want to encourage you, like if you come from a family that has mental abuse, I want to encourage you to get yourself tested. Go speak to someone professionally. Because what you might be feeling like, oh, I'm just having this mode, but you have that mode on a frequent basis. There's probably a chemical imbalance. And no, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a medical person, but I can tell you this: if you are someone who has experienced moods more on more occasions than not, you definitely need to see somebody. Definitely. If you are fighting to stay in a place where all you have to do is wake up to rainbows and sunshine, the world we live in ain't rainbows and sunshine. So I want to tell you to go seek help. If you have a child or somebody you know that has experienced sexual abuse, or someone that has experienced mental abuse or physical abuse, talk to them, understand them, get to know them. Not so that you could tell their business, not so anything like that, but understand where they come from. Understand how they got to the point where they are. I I real life, like I watch There's a channel here on YouTube. It's called Soft White Underbelly. Like I watch that channel, and I be feeling so bad for some of those people because it's like they when they tell their story, it's like some of them come from loving homes and they just was trying to get out here and see what was out here, and then they got out here and they can't they can go back. They just don't want to go back. Or some people come from households that was just like rough, and then they just ended up where they were. And I watch that and just be like sad. Like I watch shows like Intervention, and it's just like that's so heartbreaking for me. And it's really heartbreaking for me because I used to drink alcohol on a level where it was completely unhealthy. Completely unhealthy. I realized that I was a functioning alcoholic where I could drink. And when I say drink, I'm not drinking that fruity shit. I mean, stuff. I'm not drinking that. I mean, I'm drinking like proofs. Like I've tried Everclear before that, but I won't ever drink that ever again. But I mean, like I'm drinking proof. And I'm not drinking with no chaser or nothing. I'm just straight drinking. Straight drinking. And then um I had an experience. I was drinking and driving, and I didn't have any like accident or anything like that, but I got to the root of why I was drinking. I got to the root of why I even started drinking or how I even started drinking. You ever go to a party when you're little and like your parents is like, give them a sip of beer or let them taste, just let them taste it. Or parents, you leave a cup around and, kids just drink out of everything because that's what kids do. And I thought about, that's how it was introduced to me. And then whenever times got hard, the situations, I just needed a little break from things, I would just go and drink. And then I stopped drinking, and then I realized when I stopped drinking, like if I was like in that spot, I would go get me a cherry Pepsi, some peanut M&Ms, and some sunflower seeds, and I would just crack the sunflower seeds and sip it. And it was something about the connection between the salt and the burn in the back of my throat that just like calmed me. And then I stopped eating that, and I started meditating. I started working out. I started juicing. I started feeding myself with positive things and staying away from negative people, and setting boundaries with people. And I started learning all these different techniques. I started speaking. I would hold I would hold so much stuff in till my body was like, hey, it was like, hey, we need you to let that go. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, we need you to let that go. And my body literally, I be telling people all the time, I said, if you feel like you're stressed or something, you holding on to something that somebody said to you, call that person, talk to them. And the next time you see him, address that. Address it. Because the last thing you want is for your body to shut down in and of on itself, and then you can't walk or you can't talk. And I will watch people have strokes. Like I will watch people have strokes, and like when I tell y'all, they told my mother I was 18 years old, and they walked in there and told my mother she will never, she will never walk again. She will never talk again. I was so upset. I couldn't talk at the time they were saying this. I was like, who the fuck you think you telling me I'm not going to walk or talk again? I was so like, I had to prove them people wrong. I had to. Now, granted, I'm 42 and I have some slight things that's going on from 18, but y'all hear me talking. And if you watch any of my videos, I do be walking. I'm not saying that I don't have side effects. I do have side effects, but I am talking and I am walking. And I'm saying that because maybe somebody told you you'll never be anything in life, or maybe somebody told you that why would you want to do that? Who you think you are? Why you think you better than us? Every time you hear that, that's not. People be like, oh, they hate it. The thing of it is you are doing something that's causing them to look at themselves. They don't feel worthy enough. So if I make you feel less than, you ain't gonna try to strive to do that, because then what? You gonna go out here and start your own business. Now what I'm gonna do? Either I'm gonna go start my own business or figure out how I can participate with your business, or I'm gonna move around from you because I don't feel like I can do that. That's why I said in 2023, I'm turning my light up so fucking bright. I used to dim myself so that the people around me would like not feel bad. And I'm like, we survived a global fucking year three, and it's not gone. It didn't just like poof, it's gone. Year three, we are still here in a global fucking pandemic. If you haven't decided, like, hey, I'm tired of waking up going to this job that I don't even like, and I'm tired of complaining about it, but I really want to start my own business. I really want to start a YouTube. I really want to write a book with all these different. I'm gonna tell you how life set us up so good, right? Life set us up so good where everybody got a phone in their hand. Everybody got a phone with a camera where you could just start a YouTube about any fucking thing you want to start a YouTube about. Anything, right? Life set us up so good. They created AIs that will literally take an idea that you have and pull it all together. And all you have to do is repeat what the AI done told you. Like real life. They got so many things that make it way easier for you now. I remember when I started doing meditations, like I was literally sitting at my keyboard creating the meditation. I was making the rain videos. I was making all these different things. Now they have videos of people on YouTube who are monetized, who are on YouTube telling you how to go to these different sites and find these different instrumentals and take these videos and put them together and put them on your page, and then you become monetized. Because if you haven't realized, meditation, yoga, vegan, all of those things are really popular right now. Workouts, all those things are really popular right now because everybody want to be healthy. If that's something that's been burning in your heart to do, do it. Maybe you're a makeup artist and maybe you don't have Sephora and Ultra, all those high. Maybe you go to the Dollar Tree. Start a YouTube for the people that go to the Dollar Tree and get makeup, or the local pharmacy to get makeup. You could do that because there is people that do that. That'll be your niche. We got, when I said like we are not taught to care for ourselves. Like we don't have people in our family going to get breast exams until you hear the words cancer. I was just telling, me and my mom was talking, and I was like, I am so grateful that my grandmother has a medical history. I'm so grateful that my mother have a medical history. I'm grateful that I am keeping track of my medical history and my mother's, so that my nieces that are up under me will have a history. They will know our family history. Most people don't even know their family history. They don't know of diabetes or breast cancer, Alzheimer's. They don't even know of high blood pressure. They don't know any of those things. That's important. Those things are important. I was so grateful when I went to have a mammogram, and they found things on my mammogram, and they was like, hey, does any one of your family members? And I was like, yes, my grandmother and like let me see, a couple of her sisters have had breast cancer. My mom had a situation. And so for me, it's like, yeah, you're really high risk. So then when my nieces get to the age where they have to go, they know the history of it. You know what I'm saying? Not all like family history is bad. I should have said that too. Not all family history is bad. Maybe you come from a family that hustled in the streets all your life. Maybe you could be the one that go to Colorado, California, or one of these legalized places and go and get the knowledge to legal, do it the legal way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe nobody in your family ever graduated from college and you're the first to do it. Maybe nobody in your family ever wrote a book. You never know who you inspire. I said I wanted to start a podcast. All I did was watch other people that did podcasts. As I took notes, what to do, what not to do, and I started a podcast. I have 2 podcasts actually. And I'm thinking about starting another one. Not really. I'm cool with these 2. But I have a lot of suggestions. If you thinking about starting a podcast, got a lot of suggestions. YouTube got a lot of suggestions. Like tonight, I'm about to wrap this up because I'm going to do a gospel karaoke. If you are somebody that love gospel music, definitely come and sing. I would encourage you, if you love gospel music and you like singing, start karaoke on your channel and then start talking about it, because I'll come and sing. I do karaoke. I do karaoke on Kick, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. On all these platforms I do it. The only ones I don't do it on is YouTube and Instagram. And if you know, you know. Them the only two I don't do it on. But all of these other platforms you get it, and you getting gospel karaoke tonight, and people be like, people's like, given your record, why would you have gospel karaoke? Because nobody else is doing it. I always figure out when I figure out things, I just put it out there. If people pick it up, they pick it up. If they don't, they don't. But I'm trying to tell y'all, I'm tell y'all this, right? I realized that I'd be ahead of the curve. I told somebody it's like I've been here before. So I be seeing things and then like I'll do it and then time pass and then it's like people finally be starting to catch up and I just be like, wait, no. Anyways, but I'm gonna tell you this: if you like to sing, you like music, gospel karaoke. There's nobody on YouTube right now doing gospel karaoke. You should definitely tap into it. That'll be a whole lane for you. Gospel karaoke. You can even do regular karaoke because I'll come and I'll send my community. We'll come over there and do karaoke. We rocks with karaoke. We rocks with it. So here's some tips. As I said, I'm wrapping it up. Here's some tips on how to heal generational traumas. Number one, stop holding the fucking secrets in. Secrets, lies, deceptions. Talk about all of that. Address it, acknowledge it, accept it, and how do we move forward from here? A lot of times, moving forward consists of setting boundaries. You know, like my family don't respect me, don't do all of this, but you still go to family events. You still go to family hangouts. You still go to family barbecues. That's when you set that boundaries. You know what? You don't respect me. I don't have to be in this. I don't have to be here. I don't have to go in this environment because every time you subject yourself, like imagine this, right? You're a parent and you experience some really traumatic shit in this family, and then you have kids, and now you are bringing your kids into the traumatic shit that you experienced in a family, and then expecting them not to experience traumatic shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, stop that. Set the boundary. If the people don't respect you, they're not gonna respect your kids. They're not. Set the boundary. I know you're gonna miss the family. Set the boundaries. You gotta think about your kids now. You gotta think about what's best for them. You don't want them to go up in that environment. Your mother down talked you, talked bad, called you all kinds of names, and now she over there calling your kids all kinds of names. And that's not the environment your kids grow up in at home. You don't even call your kids out their name, but they go over there. Hey, we gotta stop that. Share the secrets. Identify, discuss, and figure out a way moving forward. And it has to happen as a team. If you and your immediate family is just like, well, it's just going to start with us, start there. And if you know, like this is saying that I despise this saying because it feels to me like hurt people hurt people. It's like number one, you know that you hurt, so you're gonna turn around and do the same thing that somebody just did to you and hurt you and inflict those same feelings on somebody else. Don't do that. If you know that you are hurt, go get some help. Professional help. Go to therapy. Go see a psychiatrist. Go see a doctor. Go see somebody. Professional help. That's not going to replace Jesus or whatever deity you believe in. That's going to assist you in doing that. Maybe you do need medicine. You know, a lot of times, especially people of color, we don't want to have no mental. We don't want people to think that we crazy or anything like that. Listen, there's a lot of crazy people out here. And the last thing you should be worried about is what other people think. You should go and do what is best for you. Do what is best for you. Make sure that you are okay. Make sure that your family is okay. That's pretty much all I got. This has been Nurturing Conversation. Today's topic was generational traumas. And I'm going to end it the same way I end it every other time. It is important for you to use your words. That is the only way that anyone will ever know what you are feeling or what you are thinking. I will never let a live podcast, anything that I present to you, go out without me telling you to love yourself. You love yourself when you got that money, that job, people know your name, everything, you viral. You love yourself there. You got to love yourself when you make mistakes, your faults, fears, failures. You got to love yourself throughout all of that. Love yourself. Know yourself. When I say we not taught to trust ourselves, we know what we want to do in our lives. We know what we don't want to do with our lives. Sometimes we just be going with what's cool or what people going to know yourself. Trust yourself. Trust that if that's not something you want to do, trust that you don't have to do it. And people are not gonna say you don't got it. You don't have to do it. If you don't want to go to the barbecues, don't go. If you don't want to speak to people, y'all remember when we was little and I used to be like, going on over there and say hi. And you know what that person did to you. You don't want to say hi. Go give them a hug. Remember they used to do that to the don't do that to your kids. Pay attention. If somebody come around and your kids be all weird and jittery, pay attention because something going on. Pay attention. And most importantly, just be yourself. That's it. Why? Because you need you, I need you. If you got kids, they need you to be exactly who you were created to be. Maybe your parents didn't foster into you dreams, hopes, goals, and aspirations. It is not too late. It is not too late to do whatever it is that you want to do. You survived a global fucking pandemic for 3 fucking years. It is not too late for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe you want to go to cosmetology school. Shoot, you can start to YouTube showing how to do fishtail braids or locks or whatever it is you are good at. Start a YouTube. Start a YouTube. Make sure you get a TikTok. Make sure you have a Instagram. Get on all these platforms. You're trying to get money. You tired of going to that job and complaining about going to that job. Get on these platforms. They paying people out here. I don't know if I can say that, but I'm going to say it again. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Kick, YouNow, Twitch, all of these platforms is paying people. Get on there. Having said that, make sure you get your toiletries, non-perishable food items, water, disinfected, set some cash money to the side. Wait, before I go any further, if you are a parent and your child is good at playing video games, definitely get them on Twitch. Get them on Twitch because they're paying people to play video games. And you would probably be like, how do you know? Because I play video games. Y'all probably saw some content, but I be playing video games. I do on my phone, and I play with a PlayStation 4 controller. And when I tell y'all, get your people, if you play video games, get on Twitch and get on Kick. There's 2 places you definitely want to check out. If you like to live stream, you like to do that, 2 places you definitely want to check out, Kick and Twitch. Don't worry, because I got a video coming up in the coming week to tell you all about why you should be there. Get on those places. While you waiting to get your 1,000 followers and 4,000 watch hours over here, you better go on over there to Twitch and Kick. And hey, my information is in the description box below if you want to know more information. Listen, what I'm telling you, all of these platforms are monetized. And you probably thinking, I don't got time. You could take one piece of content. One piece of content could be chopped up in 30 ways. Listen to me when I tell you. Watch me. You don't believe me? Watch what I'm about to do around these parts. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Oh, if you are an adult, engaged in adult activities, make sure that you look out for yourself. Make sure that you look out for the other person that you are with. Because while we are in a global fucking pandemic, we've been here for 3 years, the STD rates are rising. You would think, I went to school and they taught us about STDs and how to wrap it up and make sure you protect yourself. But clearly, that's not something that's happening right now. Anyways, that's all I got. I got to go grab some food or something before I start. I'm going to start gospel karaoke at 9:30, maybe 9:35. But that's all I got. I hope that y'all enjoyed. I hope that I said something that inspired you, something that encouraged you to look at your situation and want to be better. I hope I did. If I didn't, you can let me know. Leave a comment. I'll read it and I'll work. I'm only here to get better. And I'm just talking about topics that I know ain't nobody gonna talk about what generational trauma. We ain't gonna tell you that. We ain't gonna even highlight none of that because we want to keep walking around with our traumas. We want to keep walking around still feeling weird when we go to family gap. We still want to do that. No, not in 2023. This is what I said. Everything I ever wanted to do in my life, having survived a global fucking pandemic, a level 1 trauma surgery, the loss of one parent, and currently dealing with another parent that is ill, I'm doing every fucking thing I ever wanted to do. And this here internet provides that. YouTube provides the opportunity for me to do whatever I want to do. If it work, it work. If it don't, it don't. Guess what? I can say that I did it. You should take that motto yourself. That's all I got. Until 9:30 when I do gospel karaoke, I will see y'all then. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I love you too. Thank you, Journey with Kiki. I'm gonna be messaging you because you know I gotta get you over there on Kick and Twitch. Anyways, I love y'all. Until next time. Peace.